So good morning. I wanted to read something that I just recently wrote um, that is really popping into my brain. And actually, right now, it's Saturday. I'm watching Everything All at Once, and typically, like every morning, my thoughts are just kind of firing. My neurons are firing, and I got a lot of stuff on my brain and my heart that really I just needed to write down as I jot things down as I do to kind of just get them out and make them, remember them and get them established. So I wrote a couple things about topic and the topic being how we have forgotten how important a person is in society. We've forgotten or we've reduced ourselves down to basically just being disposable entities. So and how basically how that's really just corroding and destroying or imploding, or how our society is imploding on us at this point. And it all, I think it's all coming from that, and it will continue along that trend. So anyway, um I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna read it. So I'm gonna try to read it. It's not like I wrote it with special proficient grammar or whatnot. So excuse me. The small things, not focused on everlasting things, are not, and I'll basically try to make it make sense if the sentences I don't make sense because I kind of wrote it just to get it out of my head. The small things, not focused on everlasting things, are not important to last, right? So basically, the small things being anything that's just like remedial day to day crap like bills and you know costs, money, whatnot, right? You should not make you should not make big matters out of small matters. Don't blow up tiny and unimportant things and get lost in them and make them into your world. Right? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You will eventually come to regret. You will eventually come to regret them when you forget them, or you will eventually come to regret that when you forget them, which meaning that you will eventually come to regret the fact that you made small things and you blew them up um, and made them bigger than they actually were when you forget what they were, like a light bill or electric bill or something small that happens in the house. You eventually forget it because, it's not even important and you won't even, it's not important, it's not lasting, so you're going to forget it. And when you forget it, the only thing you're going to remember is, all those involved, right? Don't get lost in meaningless daily affairs and allow them to expand and delude you into thinking that they're more important than they are. Never are they more important than any person, especially people you love. The people of the world are suffering. So this goes into the society. The people of the world are suffering. It's not because of conflict. At least that's not. It's not the root. The root is the lack of love. People are acting out in various ways simply because of reasons we all do. Simply because of reasons we all do. We don't feel special. We don't feel loved. We don't feel understood. We don't feel understood. They're trying to reduce people, a life, down to nothing. An aborted baby is nothing special. A life in a womb is nothing miraculous. It's simply a growth attached to a female or a clump of cells. Sexually, we have no respect for ourselves, for our own value, the value of our own body, to have it be exclusive to someone we love, or to somebody we love. Rather, we use ourselves to seek pleasure. Value. We sacrifice our self value for momentary pleasurable feeling, and we see others and use others as the same, basically to do the exact same thing as we use other people simply as a means to derive her own self-pleasure. A woman who needs no man is lost. She doesn't value life. She doesn't value the person she has. She doesn't value anyone. She values things in facade. She has been brainwashed to believe men are secondary to accomplishments and material. She devalues her own self by pursuing these things and the life of her own male partner or potential partner. Was meaning that, because society has led us to devalue people so much, we think literally we don't even need a person like anybody, right? Male, female, right? But the typical thing is, especially nowadays, I don't need no man, right? And it's like as if a man is just literally to say that in saying like a man is only what he can do for me or what he can help me accomplish or what he can, you know, make me feel like, right? Reducing a human life, a whole human being down to only what he can do for you or do, so it's like I don't need no man, right? As if a man is only like a worker bee and you're the queen and he's just making your honey, and he's if he goes away, you can do everything on your own. And it's like to say that, even saying that reduces, it shows that you don't value the life that you have. You don't value or appreciate the human behind, not even in what they do to you, what they do for you, but you don't even appreciate that that's a person, right? Um, and that's the whole society, right? We don't appreciate people. We don't appreciate ourselves. We don't appreciate the person next to us. We don't appreciate human life. So she deludes herself by pursuing these things and the life of her own male partner or potential partner. So anybody who she might have, or anybody who she's pursuing or talking to or whatnot, or how many ever men, right? Like they're just, men talking to multiple women like they're disposable pets, and they're just, yada, 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 non-caring, non-concerned for the feelings, not concerned for the human. And, in relationships especially, we're very complex, beings, and you can't just literally use something that's so complex as a human and not expect that to affect them in a profound way. And it's like one person, it's not only affecting themselves, right? That one person is affecting numerous other people, as we all have jobs, or most of us do have jobs. And somebody who works in retail who has a bad attitude because such and such treats them like, whatever, treats them like disposable. They disposed of them like they were disposable. Now you got to deal with, them looking at you crazy and the way it affects you. Like we all affect where the world is only encompassed by human beings when it comes to a human society, right? So one human does not only affect that one person's life. They interact with other people, and all the interactions we have are like a ripple effect, right? They all go out towards, the whole ocean of people, so to speak. Um, so anyway, the world needs leading the world heads, right? The elites or whoever, so to speak, are leading and have directed us away from ourselves and valuing ourselves to value products they sell or ideas built in our own disfavor. The human being should be more important than the planet and not be sacrificed to save the environment. All of this is the secular cult theme or materialistic value or materialistic view of the world theme to make us believe we are worthless and not special, as well as just being, making us feel like we're disposable. We're nothing, right? We're just, 9 to 5ers. We're jobbers. We're just employees. We don't matter. Our feelings don't matter, right? Blah, 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 etc., etc. We're just wastes of resources, right? Like how many elites do you know who just use third world or lower developed countries, their peoples as guinea pigs, or just think that they're, here to mine a cobalt so that We can have, better Teslas or more batteries for Teslas, for EVs that are going to make the environment more, or that quote unquote are supposed to be making the environment better. While how many hundreds of thousands of lives or thousands of lives, I don't know how many, but how many lives are literally being sacrificed, wasted, working around the clock, giving up their whole bodies to mine these, get this cobalt to make these batteries, to make these cars that are supposed to be making the environment better. But going all the way back to the origin of where they came from, they're tearing up the environment. They're disrespecting the environment, disrespecting natural resources, digging up the earth, right? And the lives that are doing all of this work, they're getting paid like pennies. They're not getting paid anything. They can't, they'll never, they would never be able to afford an EV, electric vehicle. They might not even have electric in their house, right? So where was I at? Secular cult theme to make us believe we are worthless and not special, as well as disposable. Waste of resources. We can't listen to that. We can't listen to that and be happy. We can't be unappreciated and be happy. We can't be burned out or be buried in debt. We can't be burned out either. We can't be buried in debt um, with monetary value set by meaningless variables, right? Which basically is what I'm saying is that the prices of electric, where do they come from? Who decides that, right? Who decides how much your rent is? You know what I'm saying? What is the value of money? Do things need to be as expensive as they are to make us work as hard just to basically appease this value that's set by some obscure abstract value, which is like, yeah, okay, certain things need to be certainly expensive, but a lot of things don't need to be as expensive as they are. And like, who is setting these values that we have to work and bend over backwards to pay for, right? So that's kind of what I was saying there. Um, we can't be buried in debt with monetary values set by meaningless variables being more important than our feelings and our lives, right? How much do we stress about debt? How much do we stress about bills? How much do we stress about rent, right? How quick will they kick us out if we can't pay the rent, right? How valuable does that make us feel, right? Move somebody right in after you and then kick them out, and you're on the street and nobody cares, right? It just can't be so. This indoctrination of the people against the worth and value of each and every one of our lives has succeeded. And for this reason, our self-created society at its highest levels are failing, crumbling, where those that remember and value humans still stand strong, right? Where what I'm saying about that is high society is crumbling, but the small towns, they're probably, why they, they're probably knit together. They're surviving, right? Those cultures throughout all histories, the cultures that valued material over people, right? Where are they at? Their history, they're gone. But those cultures or those closely knit families and peoples who value peoples, they're still around. And why are they still around? Because they put the value in the person and not the thing. Because when you put value in the thing, the people, we're not made to feel like we're just worthless, unappreciated, and not valued. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna act out, which makes us angry at each other. We're gonna lash out, which ultimately leads to just chaos and anarchy, which ultimately leads to the failing and crumbling and us tearing down the society. And how many examples of that do we have now? How many riots have we had since 2020 or 2019 where you can literally see these pangs of the pain of human society, and we're just, at any event we're just ready to just take things apart brick by brick just because we're angry. Because why? Because of these things that I'm saying, I'm going over right now, right? Crumbling, where those that remember and value humans still stand strong. Eventually, it'll all crumble down, right? So in this trend where we're not basically valuing human life, eventually, you can't you can't succeed. We're fighting each other. We're lashing out. Just as your children lash out when you don't love them or you don't show them love or they don't feel loved or whatever, we're people. You can't just devalue us, right? An aborted baby and just saying a life, having somebody have us believe that a life is literally just a clump of cells, um like, and just saying like, oh, we're fighting for abortion rights, and you're fighting to kill life, right? You're fighting to, you know say, hey, I didn't feel like doing what this thing did. I just wanted the pleasure from it. I don't have any value for the gift of the life that is I'm receiving from that. I don't even want to grow to have to take on that and have it mature me as a person, right? Barring any literal, life and death situation that is less than 1%, right? Or it might be more, but is the minority, right? That will cause that. And I wouldn't even call that an abortion. I would call that, maybe like a necessary extraction because, you know, it's not going to survive. But when you cut off a life that's going to survive and go into being a person who could have contributed to this world, and you cut that short, you abort that life out of you, right? That's what it's doing. That's what you're doing. Music industry, you know, music industry and the sexualization, everything, right? Us, I don't need no man, or I got this many hoes, and using, we're all just using. We don't have any value for each other, right? Getting mad at your server because they didn't bring out your breadsticks or something like that, and you're angry at them, and you're literally going bonkers and just not appreciating the human life that, like that person only existed in that moment to serve you, and that you're not being served to your standard, that they don't even exist. And it's like, we got to stop looking at people like the only thing that they have to do is do something for us, because this is the thing that's this decaying our society, right? We're looking at people and like, what can you do for me? What do you do for me? You're only valuable as much as you do for me. I don't need no man because that man not doing for me. I can do for myself. And it's like, you are missing the entire spectrum of what that person is behind merely the gender and the appendix they have, to give you pleasure, right? And it's like, you are devaluing yourself, right? By thinking that you don't need another person to exist or to be happy, to flourish, to build experiences, to mature, because other people mature you. It's not just about you and what you want. Other people who are rightfully in your lives, they will mature you. They will help you grow. They will help you see perspectives. They will help you see the real you behind the you that you want to lead as a front. That's what people do. That's what a real person does. And when a real person has a real perspective and they're really positive and they're really trying to improve, that's what they do in your life. They help you improve. They help you see different things. You get to see, you get to share experiences, right? I don't need no man, so you don't need to share and have the joy of sharing experiences. You don't need to have the joy of growing old and literally being in a rocking chair, quote unquote, cliched as it is, and recounting an experience, going back in the days and saying, remember when this, remember the first time, remember this, remember that. You don't need that. What do you need in its stead? What? A placard on the wall? What, a BMW in your garage, right? That you're literally gonna get tired of, that's gonna be meaningless, and it's like, so we have allowed these corporations and these institutions to make us devalue ourselves. And it's destroying society, because every little branch of break off that we have, that, oh, this tribe, that tribe of this, tribe of this, we're fighting against each other, and we're all lashing out because none of us are listened to. None of us are appreciated. We're not being appreciated by the people that we're paying tax dollars to. We're being used. We're being told one thing where they do something completely different, right? They tell us to drive less. So, for example, and then they have freaking private jets that use like 4 or 5 times the amount that, we use in our car, right? They live in huge houses that probably have huge electricity uses, but they tell us to turn off our ACs, right? They don't value you. And we're allowing these people to get in positions and devalue us. So we feel devalued, right? Which weighs on us, right? Which causes us to just be angry, causes us to be unsatisfied. And that dissatisfaction bumps along and bumps into everybody else who is equally dissatisfied. And it creates strife and creates grudges, and it creates animosity. It creates creates breaking and splintering and separation, creates all these things. Why? Simply because we have allowed ourselves to be indoctrinated that we as people are the least valuable things on this earth. We got to change that. So I just wanted to go over that. I think that's for myself. I'm realizing it for myself. I'm not realizing it for the first time, but it's really clear to me right now. It's really kind of blossoming. It's budded before, but it's kind of blossoming in my mind, right? Like a flower blossoms where you start to see the first petals and yada, yada, yada. So I thought I wanted to share that for anybody who listened to it. And you listen to it, I appreciate it. Maybe share it on the internet. Maybe give it to somebody who, I don't know. Appreciate the people that you have in your life is what I'm saying. Even you. Learn to appreciate yourself. Appreciate and value life. Because this is the reason why everything is imploding. We need to value life. Human beings, not things, not animals. If your dog and your best friend were drowning, or your brother were drowning, who are you going to save? The animal or the dog or your brother, right? How many people would say the animal? How many people would say the dog? It's like we need to realign ourselves to remember we are valuable. You are valuable. The people in your lives, you should appreciate what they do for you. It's not nothing. They're just not a spreadsheet of what they've done for you, and that's their only worth in your life. No, they bring you worth and value in ways that you can't even perceive. You have no idea. You might see one thing and they say, oh, they do that for you, or you think they do only that for you. That's what you perceive, because that's the only thing that you're focusing on, right? But your blinders are on for everything else. You have no idea what people do. A smile. Somebody smiles at you in a day. Does that not make you feel good? It's just for no reason. It's like, wow, humanity still exists when somebody smiles. When a cashier is actually genuinely nice. Does that not make you feel good? Why? Wow, it gives you, it shows to you that humanity still exists in the world. And that's what we need to bring back. That's what we need to realign ourselves back into. But the secularism, the materialism, it's corroding and destroying all of us. It's destroying everything, and it's led to the world that we live in right now, where literally money is more important than you. Right? If you can't pay, you can't eat. If you can't pay your bills, you can't survive, because if your health is at risk and you can't pay that bill, sorry. This integer value is more important. It needs to stop. So, stop it here, and thanks for listening.